Hello and welcome everyone to yet another Crypto Garden harvest. Now, in the Crypto Garden, usually we discuss what we have done in the past week. Now, as you all know it by now, I have been only DCAing into Bitcoin because I think the volatility on altcoins is too strong right now. And if you want to be in the crypto market, it's best to stay into Bitcoin. Now, let's look at some charts, shall we? So this is a chart that we have been watching in the Crypto Garden, and it is, of course, the Bitcoin chart. But we have also been watching some, similar charts, some charts related to it. So my prediction from last week for the Crypto Garden was that we would, just go upwards a little bit because I thought, there was some upward pressure, some short-term upward pressure, but eventually we would come back down and that uptrend would be short-lived. I even, did another, complementary update to that, video, and we have discussed many indicators and whatnot, and we will look at all of them today. Okay, so essentially we have done exactly what I thought we would do, which is, just hang sideways. I missed the top by a little bit, I missed the bottom by a little bit, but at the end of the day we have, stood around the same place that we were last week. Okay, so this small spike up was nothing, just as I thought it would be. So I'm gonna give myself a little trophy, as we usually do. Okay, so let's think about what we are gonna do next week. Okay, so what I think Bitcoin is gonna do first, looking at technicals, volatility is just hanging sideways at 38, so it's neither too low, neither too high. The RSI is trending way below the moving average, and we are, just hanging around this dispersion zone right here. The 55-day whole moving average here, it has recently turned upwards, and so that signifies that there is a little bit of a short-term trend, a little bit up. But the 200-day whole moving average is still pointing down, which is a signal that we are seeing some long-term downward pressure. Okay, from volume, we can see, lowish volume. We have been hanging around these points, and so the volume we have is mostly selling pressure. Okay, so from technicals, I think this supports, just a slightly sideways down bias. All right, if we look at sentiment in this Coinalyze chart here, which shows us the long-short ratio, liquidations, and buy-sell pressure, we can see, just an overall high-ish short-long, like long-short ratio. We have had a small point where we had a long short ratio below 1, which meant that we had more shorts than long, but it was brief and short-lived. Even though it created this small spike up, it eventually died down as people got greedy. We had a big liquidation spike here, but I suspect this is just a bug because this is almost the same amount of liquidations we had, back in this huge candle right here, but we had almost no impact in price, right? So I think this is just a bug. If we look at the buy-sell pressure, it's, telling us basically the same story as volume, which is, just, a vaguely biased trend to the downside with very little volume. If we look at the liquidation map, one thing that we'll see that differently from the past weeks, we are seeing some bias downwards. Okay, so we have big spikes downwards, right? And so this really, sums up everything. So over the past weeks, we had overall a balanced, liquidation map. It was mostly the same below the current price and above the current price. But what we are seeing right now is, really pointing to some downwards action. Okay. So what I think Bitcoin is going to do next week, if you allow me, the honor of a prediction, is that it will hang sideways and go a little bit down. Maybe with these past two candles, we go a tiny bit up, not as high as these previous highs, but I think next week we will end slightly below around these lows here at 28k 600 something. Okay, so this is what I think. Let's also look at some on-chain charts that I shared in the Crypto Garden because they are really interesting. So you can check them out at this website right here, which is called Chain Exposed. And what you'll see is that we are, in this chart showing realized loss and profit. So in the past, we have seen capitulation mostly occurs after people, realize a loss of, more than 50%. And we have seen that in the past, maybe even higher, in past cycles where we trended down 98, 99%. But right now, as volatility diminishes, so do losses. So we can expect less. However, one thing that we are seeing is that basically no one is realizing a loss larger than 50%. And that just supports that we haven't seen, the biggest capitulation yet. This is mostly similar to, the summer trend that we had back in June. As of now, but I think we'll eventually get to the point where people are just tired of it and are gonna realize they're like 50% plus losses. Okay, and this is the point where we can start talking about a bottom. While we don't see that, I don't think we are even near bottom. All right. Another chart that we usually look at is this, the short-term holder realized price. You'll see that with time, when we usually test it as resistance, a bear market drags on, and we test it as support, a bull market emerges. So right now, it is at 36,700, kind of. And this is, I think, the most important price point for Bitcoin, okay? This is really a chart to watch if you want to follow Bitcoin. This is probably going to elucidate you, a lot of things. This is, as I've written in our Crypto Garden newsletter, basically the refined version of the bull market support band, if you have ever heard of it, okay? So, all right. Now, let's look at the altcoins that we looked last week and just try to reflect on my predictions that I did. So the first altcoin that I looked at was BNB. And with BNB, I basically got it right. So we went up a little bit and ultimately ended up around the same place. That's what I thought, because BNB was a tiny bit stronger than Bitcoin. And so I didn't think that it would end up, even a little bit lower. So that's exactly what it did. So I'm going to give myself a little trophy. Next, we looked at Aave. So let's look at Aave here. I thought Aave was going to go up. It went up a little bit more than I expected. So no trophy for me here. Aave has had a really strong trend over the past few days. Another coin that we looked at was Audio. And with Audio, I expected some major weakness just because it looked really weak right here. But it didn't go down as I expected. So no trophy for me either. And finally, with Monero XMR, I have pretty much nailed it. Okay, so I thought we were gonna see resistance at the 200-day whole moving average, and we did, but ultimately we would end up at around $188, and that's essentially what we did. Okay, you can see it right here. I got it right basically on the spot. Now for altcoins for today, I have separated a few coins. Okay, so the first one was RUNE, and this is not an analysis on a coin themselves. I just separated many example cases of the many trends that we currently have in altcoins right now, so you can take home more information than just this altcoin is going to go down or this altcoin is going to go up. If an altcoin exhibits such a behavior, just just going kind of sideways like RUNE, I would expect that it has the same behavior, at least in the short-term future. Okay, so for RUNE, as we can see, this is pretty much a straight sideways trend. Okay, so no major ups, no major downs, and I think it will probably continue this way. Okay, I think RUNE is gonna just continue kind of sideways, and yeah, I think this trend is gonna be maintained with most of these sideways coins. Next one is ADA. Now, ADA has shown some short-term strength over the past few days. Okay, so we have gone up to the 200-day whole moving average here, and we have yet to test this RSI zone here. But if you look at the long term, it's really, really painful. Okay, it's like a 20% of what it once was. So not really interesting, right? But nonetheless, it has had a nice run. However, in the current market conditions, even if we look at the ADA USDT perp chart to look at the sentiment for ADA, what we will see is that we still have a relatively high long-short ratio. Now, if you look at it, in the lens of the context that it had in the past of a like 10-to-1 long-short ratio, of course, this is kind of low, but 2-to-1 is still quite high. So I think there is still a lot of greed for ADA, and so I think we will continue just going sideways, maybe a little bit down. Okay, this is what I think we're gonna see for ADA. Now Dent. Let's look at Dent, because this is a micro cap. However, it has been showing these higher highs and higher lows, right? And I think this is interesting. This is, an altcoin that the market hasn't, pushed down yet, okay? So yeah, this is Dent. And well, what I think it's gonna do, it's basically gonna continue, you know, just maybe a tiny bit stronger than Bitcoin. Okay. And so I think we will hang kind of sideways and don't make any, you know, lower lows than here. Finally, the last coin that I wanted to look at was Cake. And it also has been going basically straight sideways, right? It has been going straight sideways. And I think it will follow mostly the same as RUNE, okay? So we may see some new highs here and just go down afterwards because, you know, basically Cake has been having a horrible downtrend. So $44 it once was, and now it's struggling to be above $4.40. And so I think it will just continue down. Okay, so yeah, these were the altcoins that I wanted to look at for today. If you want more content, more videos, newsletters, and whatnot, you can sign up at thecryptogarden.io. And with that, I say goodbye.